So yesterday we learned, this is a speech given by the Lubavitcher Rebbe in 1991. That year, the fast day of Tisha B'Av, which is the most severe fast day from the rabbis, right? There's one fast day from the Torah, which is Yom Kippur. And all the other fast days come from the rabbis, but all of the other fast days, they begin in the morning. In other words, half of the day. And this fast begins from the nighttime. In other words, the whole entire day. In Judaism, the date begins in the nighttime. When the sun sets, that begins a new day. So this fast is the whole day. But if the fast of Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat, then we don't fast. We push it off to Sunday. And this year, it's not that way. This year, we fast on Sunday, but because the fast falls on Sunday, not because it was on Shabbat and it got pushed off. Okay, but when the Rebbe was speaking, the fast of Shabbat fell, the fast of Tisha B'Av fell on Shabbat. Therefore, it was pushed off to the next day. So it says, this idea of Shabbat, Tisha B'Av, Shabbat, when Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat, in which case we do not fast on Tisha B'Av, we fast on the next day, on Sunday. This is stressed especially in the eating and the drinking on this day. Kasher Yeshna, when there is the commandment of getting pleasure from Shabbat. So this year, this year, Tisha B'Av falls immediately when Shabbat goes out. Immediately when Shabbat goes out, that's Tisha B'Av. The custom usually is that everybody goes home and before the evening prayer, and you go home and you change your shoes, because on Tisha B'Av, it's forbidden to wear leather shoes. So put on your shoes, and then you come back to the synagogue, and there are the prayers of Tisha B'Av, and you read the Eicha, you read the what is it, Lamentations, the book of Lamentations. You read, okay, but when Shabbat falls on Tisha B'Av, like it did in the year back then with the Rebbe, so there's the commandment, you have to get a lot of pleasure from Shabbat. This year also, the same thing. You have to eat big fish. You have to drink wine. Until even regarding the third meal, which is the Suda Mafsekas, the meal right before, it's the law that you can even eat meat and you can drink wine, and the meal right before the fast. By this year, it's not so hard to do because it's Shabbat. So we see from here that the day of a fast, which falls to be on Shabbat, not only is there, it negates fasting, but even more, you're supposed to have happiness and pleasure. Now, as we said before, what we do in this world is very important. It's very important to God. And it's very important to the whole entire creation. And our happiness and our pleasure, that gives God pleasure. Now, not to get to how they call it anthropomorphic. Don't think that God is a big person sitting up on the clouds and looking down at us, right? But on the other hand, he sort of is. I mean, we see that in the Torah that God got angry at Adam, and God got angry at the generation of the flood, and God got pleased by Noah. That Noah pleased him. It said Noah made sacrifices. God got a pleasure. Reach nichoach. He got pleasure from. So we see we do affect God. At least that's what it says in the Torah. So our actions cause a reaction by God. When we're happy in this world, happy from proper things, that gives God happiness. And by eating meat and drinking wine, there is pleasure in these things. And that's if you get pleasure in eating those things. I personally don't get such a big kick out of drinking wine, but if you do, so drink wine. Pleasure. A beer, but the explanation is like it says many times, Shetainit penimiut is good. A fast day is a terrible day, right? Of course it is a terrible day. We're fasting because of bad things that happen. But inside the soul of a fast day is good. Yom Ratzon Lashem. It is a day which is pleasing to God. Now, it's not pleasing to God that we're suffering. We're suffering for Him. God doesn't want us to suffer. God wants us to be happy. When the Moshiach is going to come, everybody's going to be happy. That's the goal, to be happy. So what makes God happy with a fast day when we fast? Akavana, the intention is, the inner intention is, shivgaleh inyani tov, something good. Yafchu yamim, that should be transformed these days to be holidays and days of joy and rejoicing. This is 37. Maimonides says that the days of the fast days are going to be transformed into holidays. In fact, they're going to be even more than the holidays that we are now. It says in the days of the Moshiach, there's going to be so much godliness that we won't feel the godliness of the holidays. We won't feel anything special about the holidays because every day is going to be special. But these fast days that will transform to holidays, that we will feel. We'll feel. The intention is, we go. Chemdat yomim autokorata, like it says. Oh, I skipped the line. The inside of a fast is, especially this inside of the fast, when it falls on Shabbat, this really reveals the inner intention of the fast days. Namely, what? That the fast itself becomes a day of eating. When Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat. Not that it's a good thing. Heyot shekol Shabbat, the Shabbat is, every Shabbat is a good day. Chemdet yomim otokorata. It's a pleasurable day. And it's a mitzvah to get pleasure on Shabbat. This is attached to the Geula. So therefore, it is a special propitious time that the fast is b'yeter seit even more. It's not just like a regular Shabbat that it pushes away. No, it's a day that the fast day transformed. As a tainit, the fast itself becomes a happy day. Maybe it's something like, it says, the raising of the dead. When Moshiach comes, it says that God is going to explain all of the sufferings of the Jewish people, and it's going to be a tremendously happy day. It says also when the dead rise up, it's going to be Yakutza Barananu, it'll be a day of rejoicing. Day of rejoicing. It's something like that is when Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat. Something like it's going to be in the days of the Mashiach. Until the Tainit, pushing away the fast. And this, it's possible that in the days of the Mashiach, it's a sign that the fast day can be pushed away totally. Kafisha Mugash, like especially in Tisha B'Av, it falls to be on Shabbat, in the year that the Rebbe was speaking. The Dechiyato La'achar Shabbat, it's pushed away after Shabbat. And Rebbe in the Talmud said, Hoyel v'nidche yidche. Since it was pushed off, we see it's possible to push it off, so let's push it off totally. So, like I said before, when Mashiach comes, it says that all the suffering of the Jews will be revealed to be good. Now, how this is going to be good? How could it possibly be good? You know, the people saw they're the ones who they love, killed and murdered and things like that. It's totally not understandable. And even let's say it works, right? Let's say the dead raise up and then it's understood, but still there's the past. Remember how it was when you died. It was so terrible. You remember the scar where the trauma was left. So the answer is that no, right now we don't really stress the present. We don't really, there's whole big seminars that talk about being, what is it called? The mindful or something like that. Feel the present. Feel the present. We don't feel the fact that God is creating us. If we would feel that, we'd see what an amazing miracle it is that we live, an amazing love that God has, and especially that God is not just creating us like he's creating rocks. We have personalities and things like that. And God, everything is being created. So we would feel the creation, the creator, every moment will be raising of the dead. Every moment will be raising of the dead. And as a result, we'll forget the bad things that were in the past. Okay, that's the past, but the past was not infinite. The past is gone. The past is not infinite. The present is infinite. And the good things of the past, they're right now in the present. And that's what we'll feel. That's the idea, that we'll feel the present. We won't feel the bad things that happen were only because we weren't really appreciating the creator that is creating us now. And in the future, we will appreciate. That's what it means. It'll transform to good. Yesh Lomar, we can say, this is also found most in the meal of Tisha B'Av that falls on Shabbat. That on Tisha B'Av, there is a revelation of the birth of the Moshiach. Like we said before, Moshiach was born on Tisha B'Av. So it says in the Talmud. Ubefrad, and every year this is the same thing. Ubefrad, and especially after midday, in the time of prayer of Mincha on Shabbat. We're talking about Shabbat when Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat. That's when Mashiach was born. That's why we say the prayer of Nachem. Ubefran, and especially in the Masud of Mafsekas, the third meal of Shabbat, because the third meal of Shabbat, this is attached to the meal of the future. Sudat Leviathan, the meal that we're going to eat, the meat of this big fish and this big ox, Leviathan, and the pure ox, and drinking wine, and drinking the wine which was preserved from the 6 days of creation. But we're going to eat a physical meal. And in the time of the Moshiach, it's going to be a physical meal. How much more so the third meal of Shabbat Tisha B'Av, that's when Moshiach was born. So, okay, this year we don't have Tisha B'Av coinciding with Shabbat. So all this idea of transformation we don't have. But we do have Shabbat right before Tisha B'Av, and it'll carry into Tisha B'Av. So, and also the good things that happened with the Rebbe in 1991, when the Rebbe was speaking, those things are eternal. So we see that it is possible not just to negate the fast, but transform the fast to something which will feel the goodness of every instant. We can say even more, when Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat, and the fast is pushed away to the next day. That's what we're doing. We're fasting on Tisha B'Av on Sunday. It's something like all of the advantages of 9 and 10 of Tishrei. Now, what happens on the 9th and the 10th day of Tishrei? What happens on the Tishrei? So it says in the Torah that we're supposed to fast on the fast on the 10th day of Tishrei. That's Yom Kippur. And it says that you're supposed to fast for 2 days. That's what the sentence is. But that's not the law. That's why the Torah has to be interpreted properly. So that the Torah says you should fast for 2 days, but we don't fast for 2 days on Yom Kippur. And the rabbis explain, anyone who eats and drinks on the 9th day is considered as though he is fasting both days, because the only reason we're fasting is because that's what God wants us to do. So if you do what God wants, and the day before Yom Kippur you eat, they say there used to be the Chafetz Chaim, Chafetz Chaim, that he lived about 100 years ago. That he was a very great, holy man, and that on Erev Yom Kippur, he used to go the whole day with a little candy in his mouth, because it was a commandment to eat. So he'd have something in his mouth. He would get a little bit of the sugar, whatever, something like that, from every moment of the day. It's a mitzvah to eat. I never saw anybody else do that, but he did that. Oh, excuse me a second. So it's the same thing now with the fast day of Tisha B'Av. Eating before that is the same thing as like fasting. It's like the 9th and the 10th, especially when Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat, like it did back then in the Rebbe. So then the 9th day, which is Tisha B'Av, they eat because it was Shabbat. And then the 10th day you fast. So it's exactly like Yom Kippur. The 9th day you eat, and it's a big mitzvah. And on the 10th day you fast. So it's like the Rebbe said, that's the connection with Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur. The days of fast days are all from the rabbis. They have a connection. There's something like the fast of Yom Kippur. The fast of Yom Kippur is from the Torah. But where do the idea? In Judaism, generally speaking, suffering is not a good thing. We're not looking forward to suffering. Suffering does not fix us up. We're not looking for, the self-emulation or whatever, or being a monk or whatever it's called, a hermit, right? A hermit is not necessarily a good thing. In fact, there is one example called the Nazir. The Nazir makes a vow not to drink wine. He makes it, and he says afterwards he has to bring a sacrifice to bring forgiveness, because he withheld from himself, from a pleasure from this world, and it's not a good thing. Judaism is not to suffer. So there's a holiday which is called Yom Kippur, and it's from the Torah, and it's a day when we fast. And in fact, even more, we fast in order to suffer. Right? You should make yourself suffer. How could that be? We're not supposed to suffer. So it says all of the other fasts that we have, because of the temple being destroyed, the 7th day and the day of Tammuz and Tisha B'Av, etc. All these took their example from Yom Kippur. It took the example of Yom Kippur. Here we see on Yom Kippur that God wants us to suffer, at least one day of the year. So let's make more days of the year, more days of the year. The Kiyadu, like it says, that all the commandments of the rabbis are all compared. They're in the form. They're ke'en the they're in the form of the Torah. Shehem, until they come out, they are drawn from the commandments of the Torah. Like, for instance, the lighting of the candles on Hanukkah, right? It's something like the lighting of the candles in the time of the Holy Temple. That was a commandment from the Torah in the temple. And now the commandment to light Hanukkah candles is only from the rabbis. But it's something similar to it. And the places where it differs, that the rabbis ask questions and they make big lectures and wonderful ideas come up. Among the four fasts, that all of them are something similar to Yom Kippur, the fast of Tisha B'Av is the most similar to Yom Kippur because it's one full day. And not only that, it says in the Talmud, "Ein bein Tisha B'Av Yom Kippur," except for things that are for the Tisha B'Av is from the rabbis, and this is from the Torah. And Tisha B'Av Leila Kiyomo. It says in Tisha B'Av the night is like the daytime as far as everything goes. On Tisha B'Av you can do work. You're allowed to do work. Tisha B'Av is not like Shabbat. As far as work goes, you're allowed to light matches. You're allowed to drive your car. On Yom Kippur, you can't light matches. You can't drive your car. You can't do that. It says on I hope that there was a short. Okay, there was a short stoppage. I hope nothing stopped. Okay, let's see. And especially according to the